Welcome back to my channel. Today's video, just wanted to do a quick, very simple, very loose watercolour countryside scene. I'm going to include a couple of buildings to the left hand side, and it's going to be a nice little countryside scene. Something that really I don't think it matters your ability in watercolour, whether you're new to watercolour, whether you've done them before. This really is a simple scene. So if you're new to my channel, you want to have a go at this, then you can follow me along. You can slow down the video, just a speed that you're comfortable with. So as you can see on the video, I'm just doing my outline sketch. This is just with I think it's a 2B pencil, just a normal regular pencil. And the paper I'm using is actually a Bockingford £140 cold press. I've cut my paper in half, so it's roughly about 10 by 6 inches, the size of the paper. And this was just a quick loose idea, really. Didn't really know what to I didn't know beforehand what to sort of what to do, but sometimes these can be the more effective or the better pieces of work that you may find you do. I think oftentimes in watercolour you can be bogged down and you plan and try and make things perfect and get this right, get that right. But I think sometimes it's nice to just do this little exercise where you just don't really have any sort of ideas, or you just let loose on the paper. Really simple. You could just draw in a couple of houses and then just do the countryside around the houses. And that's as simple as you can do. So I think sometimes without complicating things, without having any ideas, first of all, it can be a good thing or it can go against you. But this is what I decided to do, and you can see there. I forgot to press record on my camera, so my sky is automatically filled in. And I went ahead, something quite different. I went ahead with a nice warm mixture of yellow ochre. Looks like there's a tiny bit of red in there. So I mixed that and started with that in the sky. Usually I do just a cobalt blue, ultramarine, French ultramarine sky. Leave parts for clouds. But I kind of like this approach where I've gone in with the yellow ochre and the warm sort of cloud mix first, and that gives a nice undertone to the sky. And you just roughly move it along the paper. And I actually went in without wetting my paper first. I just used plenty of water once the pigment was on the paper itself. And it gives a nice result, just like using a wet surface to begin with. And so I've added some blue just here and there into my sky over the yellow ochre mix, and now I'm just getting a greyish darker colour just to add some more atmosphere to the sky. And I'm just allowing these to mix together and manipulating that as far as I can, and just messing with it until I'm happy with the result. I'm just started the hills in the background, so they're the furthest away, so I'm going more of a blue cast for the hills. So I mixed French ultramarine and just a tiny bit of green, just to so it's not too blue, So there is a hint of green in there, and now I'm just playing with these further forward hills using more sap green and yellow ochre mix. I think I've even got some light yellow mix in there too. And then for the closest to the bottom of the page, I'm using mostly yellow ochre and then just dropping some green in there. Even a little bit of red, just to add some variety to the mix. I think as the more experience you get with watercolours, the more things you can get away with. You know what works, you know what doesn't work. And I think it's more trial and error. Sometimes you get things wrong, but there's no such thing as a bad experience. You can learn from that, and you know for next time that it doesn't work. You can see the sky. I did go back into the sky. It was looking really nice, and I think I messed this up really. And I don't know what I'm doing here. Just trying to rectify, but I think once you spoil an area, you got to try and fix that as soon as possible. I think watercolours is a medium that people think is unforgiving, but there's always a way, there's always a technique or a way to fix what you've put down. As you can see, I squirted my spritzer bottle just to get that paint moving, the pigment. I wasn't happy with. Get it moving, and once it starts moving, it corrects itself. So I'll just use the board, tilt my board. I don't want it running down anymore, so I want my paint to flow sideways. So that's what I've done here. Just use water and turn my board, and hopefully that will resolve the issue in the sky. Okay, just add in some more darks to the sky, giving that a little bit more atmosphere. It could be a thunderstorm, a bit of rain in the clouds. And again, you want to remember the lights of the painting, that your lightest parts will be emphasized by the darks. So if you've got something in your scene that you want dazzling white or really, really bright as a focal point perhaps, then you want to start using a lot of darks surrounding that area just to give emphasis, and that will make the whites or the lightest area pop. So don't be afraid of going real dark. That will help with the highlights of the painting. So by having the board vertically propped up, that helps the paint to move in a direction which you want, and I think at this point I'm quite happy. So, and the paint beginning to dry, I flip the painting horizontally, and I'm just going for the distant hill. You can see the bluey green that I've mixed up for this one, just to put that far back in the distance. Obviously everything that's far away in the scene is more of a blue cast, and then you can introduce warmer colours the closer you get to the bottom of the paper. And I'm just taking out a few highlights, just taking some pigment off the paper. Just give the hill that little bit of variety, Maybe it's light on the hills, sunlight, anything like that. It's just gives it more of interest. It gives it more of a form. So I'll just leave some of that darker side to the left. Just adding little bits of dark here and there helps to break that up as well. Okay, for this hill, I'm going a bit more green, yellow-green mix, and I got this from yellow ochre and sap green, permanent sap green. I know a lot of people, a lot of artists you'll find talk about they don't tend to use, or they don't like sap green, but I think there's nothing wrong with sap green. I do like the colour it gives, not necessarily on its own, but mixed with yellow ochre or blue. Depending on what you want, you can get all different types of green, different shades. You can add neutral tint to it to darken the tone. So I find it a really nice, pleasant green to work with. Mixing it with other colours just to get the right tones that you want. And I don't think you can go wrong with permanent sap green. The paints that I'm using are Jackson's Watercolours. They're professional grade, and I find those to be reasonably priced. You can get, on average, they're a 21mm tube. On average, they're £4 or £5. Obviously, the different series, like Cobalt Blue, is probably one of the more expensive ones. That could set you back about £8 or £9. I'm not 100% sure, but they're reasonably priced compared with the Winsor & Newton that I use. They're a 15mm tube. They're about just a little bit more than the Jackson's 21mm. So you can see you can compare the price. Obviously the Jackson are reasonably priced for a professional grade watercolour. And you can see the gradation that I'm getting on the paper itself. So they're a good paints. I'm just using the water now to just disperse that band of green, just to give it a soft edge. I don't want any hard edges in the distance. And so if you want softer edges, then plenty of water into the pigment, or just use a clean wet brush just under the pigment, run it along underneath, and that'll help move the paint and soften and diffuse that paint rather than giving a hard edge. As I'm using colour, I'm just bringing that down into the foreground, using that for the grasses in the foreground. So there's many different colours that I can use in the grass. There's the yellow ochre, there's sap green, the blue green and the yellow green that I'm using in the grass. And also some of the mud that was in my palette that I used on the sky. I'm just introducing some of that there as well. That can be good for shadows within the grass. Okay, you can see here I've not waited for the hills or the pigment there to dry. So I've just gone ahead and added the foliage to the trees, as I want that soft, diffuse look to the trees. So if you're after that sort of look, then you can use the wet in wet technique, and it helps give that soft. If there's anything in mist or a distance that you don't want to be a focal point, then you can use it. You can add the pigment to the wet paper, and that'll give you that soft, fluffy sort of blurry look. It diffuses nicely, so that can go well as your first layer of a tree, and you can always go ahead and once that's dry add your darker tones, or just add a couple more darker tones as it's still wet, just to fuse that in, get the colour mixing while it's on the paper, and then when it's finally dry you can add your final crisp sharp edges to that. I'm just using a nice golden brown sort of colour for the houses. That's what a lot of the houses in the countryside around here are like a stone building. So I'm just adding that. There's nothing too spectacular, nothing that will stand out too much. And then the slate grey roof, grey slate roof, and a couple of chimneys there, which I'll just use the same colour. You can see here I'm not having the white side of the building brilliant white. Just adding a little bit of colour to that, so it's just off white. And now I just want to add some darker green to the trees while this paint's still wet. You can see that's just mixing with the green that's already on the trees. So it gives a nicer effect than mixing it on your palette first. If you allow the paint to mix on the paper, it gives you a nice clean, and then sometimes a nice gradation to the colours themselves, so you can see the granulation where the pigment is moving on the paper. And as you can see here, I'm just cleaning up the side of the building where the greens come over. So you can take things out in watercolour. You can remove paint once it's on, it's not always game over. You can, it is forgiving. You can get paint off the surface to preserve your highlights. You can take paint off. You can either use kitchen towel. You can use a dry brush. You can use a little bit of water. Or if all of those fails, you can go ahead and use some opaque gouache, something like that. Excuse me. And I'm just adding some more of the darker mixes to the foreground grass, just to bring just to bring some interest into the painting itself. There's not really much else I want to do with this painting, to be honest. I think I need to go in and make some more dark lines just to bring some definition to the buildings. I may add maybe a fence or some posts running along the trees. Just adding, you can see the liner brush. Just using the liner brush to put some details, the branches on some of the trees, things like that. That's one of the last things you can do in a painting. Reach for your finer brushes. Just give you that line work, that nice crisp clean line work once the paper's dry. So it's a great thing for trees, branches, grass, anything like that. It'll give you nice line work. Can you see the difference that makes once you start using these dark lines? Just give definition to buildings, things like that. Can you see the difference that makes? It just helps your detail. It just starts pulling things together. If you like a loose painting, then this is something you can do before you finish the painting, just to bring things together, just tighten things slightly. And these are the last stages in which you can do when painting. If you're new to my channel and this is the first time you've seen any of my videos, I'm still quite new, just trying to find my feet. It's a very small channel, so I would appreciate if you subscribe, if you like and comment on any of my videos, and that would help me get seen by more viewers on YouTube. So if you like, subscribe, comment, anything like that, I would really appreciate that, and it would help me to bring content like this, in which I bring every week. So I'll be bringing more content like this as often as once or twice a week. Well, there's really not much else I can do with this painting without going into overworking the painting itself. I just wanted to keep this loose and real simple. So these are just the final stages in which I'm doing, and I won't be going on too much longer. So just adding the final few bits now. But that's it. A nice simple country scene with a couple of houses or cottages, a couple of trees there and a fence running alongside, and a nice cloudy sort of overcast day. You can see the clouds and a bit of blue sky peeping through. I hope you like that. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video. Take care and bye for now.